Hi. Can you enjoy beer and cigars together? Usually when I have a cigar, I'm pairing it with a whiskey of some type or a spirit of some type. But occasionally, I might be in the mood for a beer. While I have had some cigars and beer in the past, I probably didn't pay much attention to it. So I'm going to try it today. I've got a cigar that I think I want to pair with a beer, and let's see what happens. The beer is a Shiner Bock. It's an American style dark lager, kind of light on the hops. It's brewed by the Spotzel Brewery. And it was first made in 1913. I think it actually might have been intended as a seasonal beer, but apparently people liked it, so they kept making it. As you can see, it's a little darker than, you know, your typical American lager. Hence they call it a dark lager. Brewed in Shiner, Texas, the cleanest little city in Texas, so they say. That brewery has been around since about 1909. I found this to be an easy to drink lager. It definitely has a lager taste. A little sweet at the end. Some people have even said it's not a true Bock beer, which is the category it's in. That it tastes more like a light ale. I wouldn't debate that, could be. So how will it pair with this Esteban Carreras Mr. Brownstone? Nice cigar. I've enjoyed more than a few of these in the last couple of years. It's a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper with some Ecuadorian Habano filler and binder. They say it's medium to full-bodied. For me, it's pretty squarely in the medium category, which interestingly enough was where I would put this beer in the world of beers. I sort of get a little bit of chocolatey flavor, very little spice. This is a very refreshing beer. I always associate the darker colored beers with not being refreshing. That's just my own lack of experience, I guess, because I have drank mostly American lagers, you know, light colored amber beers, blondes and stuff like that. Never was a big fan of the real stouts and the IPAs, so hence I never drank a lot of dark colored beer. This is pretty refreshing. It drinks like, almost like a light beer a little bit, but certainly with a lot more flavor. I can't pick out any of them actually. You'll find with Bocks, which is B-O-C-K, Shiner Bock is the name of this beer. Those beers generally have a heavier flavor profile maybe than this one does. I've tried a few of them. Bock, by the way, literally translates to billy goat in German, so you will find on most of these Bock type style beers some type of goat on the packaging. In this case it's a ram, which is a goat. That's your German history for the day. The more I drink this, the more I get some sweetness at the end. and I get some of that here too. And that is why I thought they might go together well. I'm going to say so far I'm enjoying it. There are a bunch of different ways to look at cigar and beverage pairing. One way, and I think this is probably the most foolproof, if you will, way, the best chance of success is to just look at the strength profile. So if you're looking at a light beer, a light flavored beer, whether it's technically a light beer or not, then you want to consider a lighter cigar. Something like the Davidoff Signature 2000, or a True Estate Underground Shade, or even the Alec Bradley White Gold. These all are relatively mild cigars, and I think they pair well with what I would call a mild beer. If you get into a beer with a little more flavor, if we were going to profile it, we'd say something in the middle, like your average American lager and some of the microbrewery style beers around. Then you know, something like the Avo, is this a classic? It is a good choice. This particular one is actually a Chow. It's not an Avo. Same label. This is a gold. This would go with kind of a medium beer as well, and the Avo Classic would as well. That's why I thought that's what it was. And then when you get into heavier, more flavorful beers and ales, you probably want a cigar that's going to keep up with it and not get overpowered. Prince Hall is a good example. Plasencia Alma Fuerte. Now notice that I'm calling these strong cigars only in reference to pairing them with beer. I think that means that you don't really want generally to go with a very bold, super strong cigar with most beers that we're going to find here in the U.S. certainly. So these, while you may say, no, that's not a bold cigar, they're sort of medium to bold. I've had this one with beer quite a bit, the La Historia E3. It also pairs well with a lot of bourbons. And a Knuckle Buster, Maduro. Any of the Maduros actually seem to go pretty well with beer. This one is a little stronger than the one I'm smoking. I have not paired this with beer, but I know some other people that have. So again, for a stronger beer, look for something darker colored, more like a Maduro, as opposed to a light Connecticut shade type wrapper. And I probably say this too much, but again, I find that pairing the strength, the flavor strength of a cigar with the flavor strength of a beverage is a great starting place. Occasionally you might find some flavor characteristics in there, some subtleties that don't necessarily work, even though they may appear to both be, let's say, medium offerings. That's probably going to be rare. So I'm not getting a lot of spice in this, but there's certainly something in there. If I remember correctly, it's going to get a little stronger as I go. This cigar has a beautiful presentation. I mean, it looks really nice now, very even. I'm not seeing a lot of veins or anything in the way it's rolled. See a picture here of the cigar. It has a wrapper. It's completely wrapped. It looks really nice. You almost hate to unwrap it. Very enjoyable smoke. And I do always get a little bit of sweetness at the end, nowhere near in the area of an infused or flavored cigar, but definitely it's more sweet than bitter, as is this beer. So the other school of thought when you're looking at pairing cigars and beverages, I've tried this and talked to many people that do it, is they look for more the yin and yang. They want a little more excitement. They don't necessarily want their beverage and cigar to live in harmony, they like a little bit of play back and forth. So they might pair a stronger whiskey with a lighter flavored cigar, a medium cigar, let's say. So you had a smoky Isla Scotch, you might pair it with a more medium, mild cigar. So you don't have any chance of the cigar interfering with the enjoyment of the Scotch. And you might look at it the other way around as well. If you have a whiskey that's, you know, a little bit on the mild side, you know, kind of your run-of-the-mill bourbon, let's say. There's nothing wrong with them at all. I drink a lot of them. You might want to try a bolder cigar with it, so you get a little more excitement going on, a little more, your palate and your brain have to kind of work at it a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. I do it quite often. The reason I talk about pairing the strength profile so much is I'm really thinking about people who maybe have not had a lot of experience pairing cigars and whiskeys, for instance. And my point is always that that's a great place to start. You probably won't get too far wrong. And then as you get into it more, you start experimenting. I had a very strong whiskey the other day with a very light cigar, and it was very enjoyable. So obviously, there's a lot of opportunity to sort of mix and match your flavor profile, so don't be afraid to do that. So to answer the original question, can you pair cigars with beer? Try not to say beer. With beer, the answer I think is yes. There are many examples. I've given you a bunch here, but start out with your favorite beer and a beer you like and a cigar you like. Start there. I don't think you can go wrong. So give it a try. Let me know what you think.